Hi, everyone. Welcome to Maker Parent Hour, Happy Hour. Cheers. Maker Parent Happy Hour is part of Family Maker Camp. If you haven't heard of Family Maker Camp, we're here to encourage and provide support around hands-on learning. We're bringing you projects and live sessions with makers every day. Go to makercamp.com. You can sign up for our communications to get updates on the schedule, book excerpts, and more. Tonight, and I should mention our Facebook page. Go to @FamilyMakerCamp on Facebook. We've got a page and a group. We'd love to see what you're making at home. Please share with us. So tonight, as part of Maker Parent Happy Hour, it's all about the Maker moms. So we've got an incredible group of ladies here tonight. I'm like so honored to be in their company. And so I'd like to go around and do some introductions. So I'll start with myself. I'm Katie Cundy. I work at Make and I'm helping produce Family Maker Camp. And I'm also the mom to a son in kindergarten and a year-and-a-half-year-old. So year-and-a-half-year-old girl. So very fun and busy stage of life right now. So Natalie O'Donnell, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Natalie O'Donnell. I'm a wife and mom of 3 girls, aged 5, 10, and 13. And I'm also a parent educator and a family lifestyle blogger at ladynorth.com. And I blog about parenting, homeschool with a strong emphasis on STEM and also wellness and debt-free living. So I'm honored to be here with you ladies.
Thank you.
Katie.
Hi, you guys may have seen me with Mario, my husband Mario, the Maker Magician, who's the MC of Maker Camp. I am the business side of everything that Mario does. So I do all the marketing, branding, pitching, and as a family with our two kids, we have a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old. We travel the country under normal circumstances, and we bring his show to theaters and schools and museums all over the country and world together. So we homeschool, road school, whatever you want to call it. And now we find ourselves home and on pause and doing some different projects. We're super excited for this collaboration with Make. It's been so fun. Everything that Mario does is handmade in his show. So this is a very natural partnership and we love everything about it. Really good to chat with you guys.
Thank you. Diana.
Hi, I'm Diana Ng. I used to be a fashion designer and a bit of a tinkerer, and I used to write for Make Magazine and Craft Magazine. And now I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have a kindergartner and a toddler, and I basically make a lot of projects with them at home. And I'm also working on a STEM chat with Natalie Z. who's also on this talk.
Thank you. Natalie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Natalie Z. I'm mom to 11-year-old Chloe, who's a 6th grader now. And I actually used to work for Maker Media. I was the editor-in-chief of Craft Magazine and worked on numerous maker fairs. I'm a maker crafter at heart, and I'm super passionate about STEM. And as Diana mentioned, we're working on a new video series called STEM Chat together.
Nice. Well, thank you all for joining us. I'm Jillian Muty. I am with Make. And I'm really excited to be doing this tonight. We've heard a lot of amazing things about Maker Camp and doing Family Maker Camp, but I think it's really nice to kind of hear the mom and the parent side of it. As we're all going through this together, we obviously all have very different lives, but there's some really common trends. So I'm pretty interested to explore it with you all tonight. To any of the attendees, we will be inviting you on later on this evening. And to anybody who's watching on our live stream, please feel free to chat in comments. We'll see them and be pulling them in and feeding them to our wonderful guests. So I would like to kind of kick off the first question to Katie Marchese, who has really had a different kind of, well, I think she's pretty well prepared for this situation. She's been in a pretty compact traveling situation, but not only that, she's kind of had to take a few steps back and has chosen to homeschool her kids. So she seems to have all the tools she needs to be going through this. So I would like her to take a few minutes and kind of give some tips on what people can do to really, in this time, adjust, and how that adjustment normally goes with kids in different schedules.
Absolutely. So for those of you who haven't been following Mario and my journey, a few years ago, we decided to start traveling with our business. For a long time, we were based in New York, but about 3 or 4 years ago, we started touring. And that meant pulling our kids out of school. And in the beginning, we would just take them out for a 2-month chunk, and then they would be registered at the public school for the rest of the year. And then this past year was the first time that we decided that we wanted to do it full time. So we've been homeschooling full time since then, and used to being in very confined spaces. As Jillian mentioned, we have a camper, a very small 16-foot camper that fits the 4 of us. So for the 3 months prior to this quarantine situation, we were living either in a 16-foot space with all 4 of us, or in our SUV, or in a theater. Every once in a while, we'd have a hotel room. So we're very used to being together all the time, which I think has definitely benefited us, because I think that is a huge adjustment in and of itself, just being in each other's space all the time. But for us, the benefit of being on the road was that with homeschooling, we were able to physically bring our children to all of these amazing places. So the big adjustment for us right now has been, how do we do this while being stuck in one place, inside for the most part? And just so you guys all know, when we started our homeschooling journey ourselves, the transition from public school to homeschool, it wasn't smooth. There was a huge decompression period that we had to get through. It took us months to get to a place where we felt good and we're having mostly tantrum-free days. The tantrums still happen. But my big message to all you parents out there who are facing all of this right now and managing so many different things at the same time is just to give yourself time and not to expect this to be perfect right from the beginning, because there's no way it will be. There's a lot of emotion, a lot of tension. And so that's my perspective. It's, take your time, reel back a little bit from the expectations if it's too much, and just take it day by day and do as much as you can and no more than that. Yep, that would be my roundup of that.
Thank you. Does anybody have anything to chime in about how the last few weeks has gone for them in terms of adjusting and really embracing this place that we are in right now?
Well, I'll say something. I have an older child. She's in middle school. And, I kind of thought, okay, things will be easier for her because she's already kind of been in school for a while and they have their set schedule and everything. But I found that even as an 11-year-old, she still had to adjust to sitting in front of a computer and doing video, basically getting video chats with her teachers and her friends and everything. And there was an emotional connection she still needed. So, what we do is we tend to work on projects together, which we've done since she was, a toddler. It was always about making things and doing things together. And I think that's such an important part of learning, and sort of like why we're here now is that, you don't have to always depend on what you think the teacher wants them to learn. And you can even start a dialogue with your teacher and say, maybe this isn't working right now with the technology with my child, but what are some of the requirements they need to fulfill? And let me find other projects that are more hands-on that I think will help them understand the properties better.
That's a really good point. What I think is so interesting is that we've had this kind of cultural shift. We spent so much time avoiding the screens and taking them away from our children and trying to get hands-on, reading books. And now all of a sudden that we're doing distance learning, we find ourselves dependent on the screen. And that's the method for delivering their curriculum of and their lesson plans. And I'm finding with a very, young son, he's in kindergarten, he just turned 6. I'm finding there to be some confusion around the video interaction. So he doesn't know the difference between a live video and a recorded video. And I've noticed a lot of frustration when he would see his teacher on the screen, but not be able to interact with him. And, you know, when I really stepped back to think about it from his point of view, I thought, wow, this is really confusing. We're asking these young children to really absorb so much, not only these huge shifts in their day-to-day schedule, but the shifts in their emotional connections to the people that were really important to them. And then how we expect them to learn to all of a sudden be more passive in that experience. For me, it's not really working. So I feel like every day is a bit of an experiment, and I'm going to be trying some different things at home because it was causing him a lot of angst, I think. So it's just, I think it's quite interesting.
Yeah, so we're getting some comments coming in on social media, and a lot of people are saying to make very clear that this situation is nothing like homeschooling. And I don't think we're trying to convey that this is how, if you were homeschooling a child in a normal situation, they would be going through this all. And a lot of people are saying to let your kids be bored, to figure out a way for them to entertain themselves. And by doing so, they're going to become creative. They'll figure out their passions. So that downtime isn't necessarily a bad thing.
So I'm going to chime in. Yes, I believe in balancing because from the time my girls were younger, I did home education or homeschool, like people call it, and then public school. And so we try to balance it in a sense like you talk. I have a kindergartner, a fourth grader, and a middle schooler. And so just to try to have all three of them on the same schedule per se, is really a matter of understanding each child and being able to, I believe what you say, Katie, just to be able to see what, how you can help them navigate, because I think somebody mentioned as I was talking to a mom, it's kind of like the denial and grieving period when you lose a parent or a loved one. And just to be able to navigate those emotions in a healthy way and make them understand and comprehend that it's okay to feel those emotions. And for my kindergartner to understand that she needs downtime and she needs rest time. And some days she takes a nap because she's exhausted, but also being able to cut it in a amount of time that I can get her attention and she gets something, or being able to translate that into everyday living. So for example, science, we talk about natural resources. And so instead of doing the assignment by the teacher, we decide to do gardening. And so we bought some seed and we did the sort and things like that. So we just relate to everything she learned. And next thing we did, we baked banana bread. So for her to understand, make it fun, and the next day ask again. So it's important as parents to really meet our children where they are, because they are going through a lot. And for me, they are our heroes, because to be able to pull that distance learning, but also being away from their friends, that human connection, it definitely throws off a whole routine. And so we have to be mindful of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd love to just clarify, because I think a lot of us there is that differentiation between homeschool and distance learning, remote learning, whatever you want to call it. But I think a lot of us, just as moms in this situation, there's a lot of common threads, whether we're approaching it from a more traditional schooling and having to manage the expectations of teachers, or doing our own version, but a completely different version because we're stuck in one place now. We're all dealing with the fact that we're stuck. We're all dealing with the fact that our dynamics are different than what they normally are. We're dealing with the stress of the situation in general and the emotion behind it. You know, there's so many common threads that I see from moms. It doesn't matter what our background is. We all right now are finding ourselves in very similar situations. And I think just knowing that we're not alone, and that most of us are struggling with this in some way, or at least having several bad days, that it helps. It helps me knowing that, because we see that picture perfect thing, on Instagram and Facebook, right? Like we all post those pictures when our kids are doing a great job and like learning something, learning how to play the guitar or learning coding on Scratch or whatever it is. And very few of us are willing to show the reality behind that, the 3 hours of struggle that it took to get to that point, So I think part of what my voice is here is just to remind you guys that even those of us who have practiced this way of doing things for a long time, it's hard. It's really hard. And most of us are having struggle with it. And, we just have to take it one day at a time. And I like the idea of, thinking about different ways that we can use this time to give our kids a chance to learn how to entertain themselves, learn how to educate themselves, learn how to learn the things that they haven't had the time to learn before.
Well, I think it's like it's a giant experimentation when you think about it. None of us have been in these situations before. Teachers and schools and educators, they haven't been in these situations before. So I think for me, it was kind of a light that went off that was like, oh, yes, they're prescribing one method, but they don't know if it's working for everyone. I don't know if it's working for myself and for my son. And so it was almost like kind of giving yourself freedom to say, let's experiment. Let's see what works. Let's try different things. And it's all going to be okay. Whatever you will have one bad day and the next day may be worse or it may be better, but you kind of, this is, it's all just an experiment. And we all have to support each other and help each other through it.
And obviously, we're all pretty large proponents of making and project-based learning and project-based led exploration. Have you guys had those moments where you've really seen making provide a nice outlet for your children?
Well, we've been making a lot of things at our place to kind of make our space cozier. So we've been making a lot of pillow forts and cozy corners, but then also at my daughter's little Zoom school desk setup, she made a little iPad stand with Legos and like a little pencil box out of an old butter box. And she's like so proud of her pencil box. She like sets it in front of the video screen every day and was like ready to go for school. So I think you can kind of, when kids make things, I think there's like a little bit of a magic to it, especially if they can actually use it afterwards. It doesn't really matter how it turns out, but when they're using it, it makes them a little bit happier and they have the joy of having made it too, and maybe gives them a little bit of confidence.
That's true. Yes, I say that I don't think we even need the recycling bin because by every week it's empty because my girls go in and just start building and making. And so we have been used to being able to let them be creative in that sense. And it built a certain sense, like you say, Diana, of pride for them that they made it and it's their own, just to let their creativity run, and it's all needed. I need it. So sometimes I join in because I need to let that stress become productive.
I agree.
I've done a lot of, whenever I did a lot of talks for when I worked for Make, a lot of moms would come to me and I say, well, I'm not very crafty. I don't know how to come up with these ideas. And right now, since we're home, I know a lot of us, we're cooking all these meals all the time. And I think this is a great opportunity to give your kids some home skills. And cooking can turn into math. Cooking can turn into science. Chloe and I bake bread together. We talk about what happens with the yeast, and it's a living organism and we get to see it in action. And there's so much, and meals get made. We get to bake bread, we get to eat bread, and we're eating what we're making. And so there's something very satisfying about that, but also they're learning all these basic life skills at the same time.
That's true.
And making your life a little less
even
crazy.
the face mask.
Yeah.
To be able to just do the face mask together, because my middle schooler does family consumer science. So it's sewing and cooking. So that's part of it where my mom is a seamstress, so she learned from her, and being able to do something that she's proud of because we partner with Joanne Fabric. to make a couple and just to drop off. So those are all of the things that just to think outside of themselves and being able to feel like they are being useful in some way. So that in itself is definitely helpful.
Thank you. Rick Schertl said on Facebook, he's a teacher and he's trying to come up with curriculum for his students. And he says he's facing the same challenges that we are, to really find hands-on learning that kids can do at home with the materials they have. So he's incorporating some coding in with household materials. And I think it's pretty consistent that parents, teachers, we're all in this.
Yeah.
So I am going to invite our attendees to join. We'll see if they want to. If not, we'll keep taking questions from our stream. Let's see, we had a question come in. Well, John Epstein of the Stupid Fighting Robots has been quite the resource on this chat recently. And we actually will be promoting, he has exhibited at Maker Faire Wellington a few times, and they make robots, or a little bit like dummies, out of rubbish. And it's just a fun, friendly competition at a Maker Faire, but he has come up with a stand in an arena to do it with Legos. So we will be sharing that. But he says that from homeschooling his kids, that video games are an earned thing, and screen time, if they want to play it, they should make it, which I think is ideal. But I also say, as a parent, there are sometimes I just give in.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the overall threads that I keep hearing is like, how do we do this as working parents, right? Like, because we still have to do our jobs. And there are going to be times, and I know a couple of these other moms out on the panel agree, that there will be times when an iPad and a non-educational game or just a silly movie on TV come in handy, you know? And of course, we don't want to sit them down and have them do that all day, but don't beat yourself up. If you have to get something done and you sit your kid in front of a movie for a couple hours, it's okay. We're all doing it, you know? It's, of course, the ideal is that they, you know, are hands-on all day long, learning all day long, but it's not the reality. And even for us homeschooling before being in this, the pandemic lifestyle, our schedule was usually, we would get the like academic style work done in the mornings. By lunchtime, we're done. And then from the afternoon on, that's when I give them a box full of stuff that they can create with, or send them outside, or do whatever I need to do to get them to be doing something, so I can sit down on my computer and get my work done. It's a balance and it's a juggling thing, and you have to kind of like give and play, you know?
And for me, on Thursday is my grocery day. So I call it my personal development day as a teacher. So my husband is on call. And so asking for help and reaching out to other people is very important. I have a 13-year-old, so she understands if I need some time, I'm gonna ask her to look after her sister and help her whenever she can if my husband is working. But we just have to find and create that environment where all of us work and respect each other's space and understand that this is what mommy is doing. Like if I'm turning towards you, then you can ask me certain questions, because I realize that it's easy to see the parent physically in the house and just want to go and talk to them. But like you say, Katie, morning is academic, and then afterwards, it's all up to them. And in between we have breaks, but it's all up to them to just do what interests them. And within reason, not a lot of screen all the time, but a lot of outdoors for us, because we have nature all around us. So I really encourage them to do that. I really encourage them to do some screen time. I encourage them to do some rest time, reading, and all of these things, because at the end of the day, I had 7 hours to myself when my girls were in school. I don't have that anymore. So now I understand that. In the beginning, it was tough, but now I say, you know what, we have to work together. That's when communication comes in with my husband and my girls, to understand that Mama needs to do some work. So how can we help each other just to make it happen?
I was going to add to that. I think there's also some ways you can kind of trick kids to like think that they're gonna, maybe chill for a bit. And I like, how can we add in more education without them knowing it? And if, your child is a little bit more not adjusting well to the distance learning or the video school, like, think of what's their favorite movie or what's their favorite character? Do they love Star Wars? And take Star Wars and use that to bridge off to science. And okay, now we're gonna Star Wars Day. And we're going to study the planets and we're going to do a project. And then tonight, at the end of the day, we get to watch a movie, so there's like fun ways to kind of do a twist on things too, I think.
I like that.
Actually, one of the things I was curious to get all your input on, we've gone from, just, being their moms, and now we have to, be their teachers, which is wonderful. And, but I also, with the change, my son's kind of been a little resistant to having mom play the role of teacher. And so what are your tips to help, overcome some of that frustration and resistance to mom being teacher?
I know Natalie has been homeschooling for a while. I've been doing this. Both of us, in our pre-chat yesterday, we found out that we both have one of those kids who challenges us consistently. And some of that is just a personality thing, and out of my two kids, I have a very super compliant child who will do whatever I ask of him. And I have my daughter who is very strong. Like, she is going to grow up to be a president. I know it. Like, and I love that about her, but it makes it hard. There's days where I'm like, oh, and what I really realized is, like, I need to step back and recognize that fighting, it's really just her desire to have some kind of autonomy in this process. And I have to allow her to have that. So I try my best. And for us, in our normal life, we're always in a different place. We're always moving around. Things are never consistent. So I was never really able to come up with, like, this is our daily schedule and this is how it's always going to be. During those times, and now it's a little different, at least just the night before, I would try to sit there and tell her, during bedtime, say, tomorrow we have to do this and this and this. You can help me pick the order. What do you want to do first? What do you feel good about? And just having that simple little conversation makes such a big difference the next day, when she was in control of saying, this is what I want to do. And I always, every day, give her some kind of project that I know she really wants, something that she's been wanting to learn that might be a bit of a challenge for me because it's outside of my comfort zone, but I'm willing to meet her there. And when I show her that I'm going to give to her something that's not easy for me, she is so much more compliant. And then also, when they tantrum and they get into those moments where they're just like, no, 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 my best advice, get weird. Get silly, break into song, like do something super bizarre where they just have to step back and be like, what? It works. Like, and there was a teacher who was following another one of our sessions who said, you just have to get weirder than they are. And it's so true.
Yes. My kindergartner, being a strong-willed too, I found out, just like Eddie said, for me, it's understand that in a schedule to line up with a school schedule. And so in the schedule, she had morning work. I didn't know that. I just put reading, and at school they call it reader's workshop. And so all of those things matter to her, that it has to be just like a school schedule. So once I understood that, and I made her give her understand also choice time. Like you said, during the break, we have 15 breaks in between for her to choose what she would like to do, for her to know that this is what coming next. That gives her a sense of, okay, at least I'm aware, and also a sense of control. And for me, that has helped, but also she's my child who loves outdoors. So we do a lot of things outdoors. To learn foundation, to talk about science, she's hands-on, she's outdoors, she wants to do things. She just doesn't want to sit it. And so understanding that, we just, after the video, we stay away from the video and we start talking. We write some things down. And then I ask her, how would you like us to do this next thing? And I think that has helped, but also nap time. I didn't give her nap time when she's tired or hungry because they have to snack time. I didn't know that either. So I had to incorporate all of these things. And now it's a bit peaceful, but some days we go, but I know that. I said, you are 5. Be teachable, please.
That's great. Be teachable.
That's great. So the Benevolent Order of Makers has just chimed in that we really need to remember that we're all teachers and we're all students, and we learn by doing, and we teach by showing. So it's really important, even if we don't feel that strength naturally, to understand that everything we do, every interaction, we're either learning or teaching something. And I think we often forget that. It might just be through gardening outside and having your kids watch you or showing them. There's all different ways that we learn. And I think that we really need to hold on to that even if we don't feel as if we're really hitting the mark with teaching our kids right now, they're learning. They are learning by themselves. They're learning from us. They're learning in everything that they do. So that is
the other thing I want to say is also the teachers are there to help if we need to. And that's something I always emphasize to parents. They are there to partner with us, and they have them 7 hours when we're in school, but just to understand that however you can reach out, whoever you can reach out, do that, because you are not in it by yourself. Because we have 6 wonderful moms right now. We are talking about our experiences, but reach out and you'll be surprised.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think it's also, really eye-opening and wonderful in the sense that, all of us, for us who have kids, that are going out to school, not homeschooling, all of a sudden we get a door and a window into their world, and we get to be part of, their learning experience. And I think it's very easy to get wrapped up in your day-to-day, work and busy lives. But I've actually enjoyed, really understanding what he's learning now, learning how to read and the different processes and letter sounds. And that's kind of a special experience to be able to do that.
This whole experience is so outside of anything that any of us have ever experienced before. Like, we're all learning something new just by being here. And I know when we were doing the pre-chat, Natalie had mentioned that she's a multi-generational household. Yes. And I loved the idea that, and I had my daughter do this, where I had her FaceTime my grandmother, so her great-grandmother. And I just asked her to interview her and ask her if there are any parallels in her lifetime, she's 93 years old, that have aligned with this in any kind of way. And her first instinct was like, no, this is unlike anything in her 93 years that she has ever experienced. The only correlations were, World War II, rationing, things like that. But it's just a totally different experience. But I loved when Natalie, I'd love to hear more about that, because I know your household is unique, and I love hearing about the kids learning from the generations past.
Yes, because I'm from Cote d'Ivoire in West Africa. We speak French. And my mom is here, she only speaks French. And so my middle schooler take foreign language, and she chose French. And so during her French, my mom, her grandmother, is a teacher. And so it's been wonderful to see them sitting together and talking. And for sewing, for family consumer science, to be able to be with my mom also, to learn from her grandmother and understand that this is a special time, and to really navigate the whole dynamics of my mom being the middle and my daughters, but also I think my mom having a respiratory disease. She's very, we have to be careful of how we bring things around, but she loves to be part of my girls' life. So she said, okay, so if they're learning French, why can't I learn English? So she sit down with my kindergartner and she does foundation when she can. It's hilarious. It's hilarious just to hear her trying to keep up. And so she becomes a student. And that in itself shows my 5-year-old that it's okay to listen to the teacher, AKA me. And so it's been wonderful just to see my mom with different eyes, I must say, because I really, really value and I'm thankful for her to be here and for my girls to create memories with her. So I'm truly thankful.
Well, thank you all. John wants to know if we all want to share pictures of our laundry piles that are going right now. I don't really want to share that.
No, thank you.
But that does bring us, we want to know what you guys would like to see through Family Maker Camp. We're here to shape it with you. We're really going through this. I mean, the last 3 weeks have been fast and furious, and yes, we're really proud of how it's shaping up. And thank all of our guests and our community partners. It's really been quite amazing how many people are becoming involved in this Family Maker Camp. So do share with us on social media, join the group. It's really quite an amazing setting. But I'd like to turn it over to our guests and see if there's any final thoughts that they'd like to have before we wrap up this evening. But I really do thank you and appreciate you all for joining us, and thank you for everybody who tuned in on the live stream. And to our guests, who, it's okay if you don't want to come on, but we're here and thank you.
Natalie, did you have something? Natalie?
Yeah, I wanted to say, you know, I think one of the things we did talk about yesterday was as moms, we kind of take care of everybody else. And, you know, I also have multitude, my mom is here too. We have my husband, my daughter and me, and to not forget to take care of yourself and to, you know, take time for yourself, because we're all like, it's even busier now. I don't know how that's possible, but we're all here, and it's like the days go by so fast. So if you can take 5 minutes for yourself and have a phone call with your best friend and just laugh, watch a stupid TV show, I mean, it's okay, you know, take care of yourself too.
Yes, and for me, beginning of this year, the motto per se that I strive for is, I think it was Ash who says, start where you are, use what you have and do what you can. And that has helped me a lot through the beginning of this year to understand that there's some things that, you know, it's okay to let go. There's something that we didn't expect this. We are all in this together. This is a community, and making is a great outlet for families to connect and use that, like join the group, start building with things you have in your house, make it relevant and make it a life skill. Do family time, take time for yourself, create a space where when we are out of this, you look back and you say, we have grown stronger together as a family and as a society, because this is a gift in disguise.
Well said, very well said.
I just want to add, I think that kids learn a lot from playing as well. And so I feel like if in this whole experience, I wind up doing no academics whatsoever, it's okay. And my kids will still learn from all the things that they're doing, playing. And I'm just hoping to maybe make some happy memories that they'll remember later when they think back on this time.
Yes.
Oh, wait, I missed a question. Sorry. I don't want to do that. I'm trying to balance the chat. People want to know, how do you handle negative emotions and behaviors when kids are looking for their friends' company and they're lonely? Do you guys have any suggestions on that?
Yes. My kindergartner went through that. And so we use, because she loves writing. So beside FaceTime, I said, write her a letter. So they've been writing to each other back and forth. And so it's so exciting because we're supporting the post office, but also they get a chance to use their reading and writing and being able to let it out. My My oldest one, she does a lot of Zoom game night with her friends. So it's a sense of them being able to be close while away from each other. We do a lot of drive-by play date where we can just wave and talk, but not really going in, and just to offer outlet like that where they can really feel like they still able to connect on that level.
Thank you.
Oh, I want to add, this month is National Letter Writing Month. So we've also been writing a lot of letters to friends, and it's a great way for everybody to connect.
That is a great idea. I know my daughter's been doing a lot of writing to her pen pals from moving up to Boston from Florida, that she's maintained that throughout the years, but it definitely has become more frequent in the last few weeks.
That's true.
So that is
I saw something on Facebook, and they can have the children just, I think, share a hug or mail a hug, where they lay down on a piece of paper and then they have their hands like that, where they can cut and draw and decorate and send it to a relative or things like that. So when you receive it, you open up, it's just as if somebody is giving you a hug. So that was something that we tried to incorporate, and I thought that was so cute.
That is a cute idea. Well, thank you again. And now I'm going back to really wrapping up this evening. So any final thoughts? I really appreciate everybody joining. Thank you again.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great one.
You too. Thank you.